So, Origem, these guys, or wait, I mean, this makes it clearer. These guys, the guys that make the HS-3 earphones, these ones, they love influencers. They love them a lot. I mean, they have an influencer program, they have a VIP program, and they actively scout for YouTubers like me to send their products to. And the last thing is what happened to me. I mean, I'm not going to sign up for an influencer program because that will end me up with a lot of work and a lot of shit that I need to deal with and I don't have any room for. Now, I don't really care that companies use the audience of YouTube creators or other creators or, you know, Instagram influencers. I hate the word influencer. I really hate the word influencer. Now, I don't really care that they use their audiences to sell their products as long as it are good products. I mean, of course you need to market your product, but the thing is, most influencers don't know shit about audio. Like, I don't want to be arrogant, but I dare to say that I know much more about audio than the average lifestyle influencer, which these things are for. This is a lifestyle product. It just seems like Origem just wants to trade a cool video for the product, because actually earbuds are a hygiene product, so it would be weird to send them back. Now, the special thing about these things, and that is also the reason why I wanted to review them and why I said, you know, send them to me, is it's on the back of the box. It's HDR algorithm for superior sound, and you know, that makes all my alarm bells go off. So as much as I hate the word influencer, today I'm going to use my power as an influencer to show you guys what that HDR stuff is all about. Now, the earbuds have one very big bug, or as Origem calls it, a feature, the HDR feature. Now, let me show you what happens so you can decide for yourself if this is a bug or a feature. Now, I'm not completely sure about the numbers that I'm using in here, like the frequencies and the decibels. I tried to do this as accurately by ear, so, you know, a lot of trial and error and, you know, trying out what worked and what the algorithm did. And it's super difficult because I don't have any measuring equipment to measure earbuds. What it actually does, as far as I could hear it, whenever you turn up the volume, so literally the volume slider on your phone, or literally the volume buttons on here, as soon as you turn it up, there are certain thresholds at which it applies a different EQ curve to the earbuds. And the EQ curve it's doing is, and I try to do this in the FAB filter, is, well, if you have it at the lowest volume, it's linear-ish. And as soon as you turn the volume up, it is going to get out a bit of lows. And I think the first step did around 4.5 decibels. And the second step was actually, as far as I could hear, maybe even more than 10 decibels, that it cut it out of the lows. Here is how that sounds. This is without correction, of course. And now this is the first correction it does. This is the second one. So that's pretty clear, but you have to keep in mind that the volume is also boosted. So let me put a clip in here with these 3 settings, one on low volume, one on mid volume, and one on high volume, how it would sound on these earbuds. And here is one interesting part, which I want to add, is that as far as I could tell, it is not dependent on a real volume level, on like RMS level or loudness level or whatever. It doesn't measure that from the music. It would also be very difficult to measure that, because as far as I know, there isn't a look ahead in Bluetooth aptics. There isn't a look ahead feature in Bluetooth. So how would it know what it's coming, and how could it anticipate on that, and how could it, you know everything about the whole track? And if it was there, then it would mean that, you know, this thing would be going up and down all the time. So that would mean that I would hear a different EQ curve throughout the whole track, which actually takes away the sensation that the engineer tries to make by sometimes, you know, removing frequencies to build up to a certain climax or something like that. So it would actually be a good thing that it doesn't automatically, you know, anticipate on what's coming, because then it would get really messy. But on the other hand, some music is just less loud. So if you are compensating for, you know, a loudness curve or whatever they are doing, it shouldn't also be on the volume slider. Now, when I was testing these earbuds, I genuinely thought this was a bug. But when I emailed them with, you know, my explanation, I made a very big email with all the things that were happening, which were, in my eyes, wrong. They actually confirmed that this is what all the HDR stuff was about. So it's a feature then. Now, of course, I didn't believe them directly that it was a feature, because I actually thought that they were doing that, you know, lowering sub-frequencies because the drivers couldn't handle it. I mean, these are single driver, like a normal driver, no weird balanced amateur stuff, just a normal driver, a single driver that needs to produce all the frequencies. And I thought they were doing it because the amplifier wasn't powerful enough and the driver couldn't produce it at that high decibel level. So what I did to test this out is, you know, boost 10 decibels, 15 decibels of low frequencies in a track and then push up the volume all the way again to, you know, get it in balance again. And it, you know, it was a bit distorting, a tiny bit, but that was maybe because I was driving it a bit too much. But in general, it could just do it. So that's also not a reason for them to do it. And now the problem that I have with this is, you know, I'm looking at this from an audio engineer's perspective. I put a lot of blood, sweat and tears in my productions. I work my ass off crafting a sound. Crafting the sound of a production to perfection, to give you guys, the listeners, the end user, the best experience possible. And of course I know that everything colors, but at least it tries its best not to color too much. But I really do not like it when people tamper with what I created. I mean, it really isn't necessary. The only thing that these earbuds have to do is translate the work that I did as linear as possible. And that means not altering it. So I therefore think that there should be, you know, a switch added or something like that. I'm not a manufacturer, I don't know how to do this, but there should be a switch with which the consumer can choose to turn it off. And I think that almost everybody would choose to turn it off. Now, apart from the HDR algorithm, these earbuds also promise crystal clear highs and well-defined mids and powerful bass. But yeah, if you EQ it out of there, then it's gone. So it could be as powerful as you want, but then, yeah. Now, with the crystal clear highs and powerful mids, I simply do not agree. First of all, you know, from a physics point of view, it's almost impossible to do that with a single driver design. I know that these things are not that expensive, but still, if you promise, you know, very high-end quality and try to do it with a single driver, tiny drivers, it's very difficult. And even if they manage to find a magic breed of anaconda loop, I still do not hear it. It's muffling the details. It's not that there isn't high in there. I mean, from an EQing point of view, it sounds very balanced. But the details in the high, so I'm talking about things like ringing and impulse response, it's just not there. It's not in there. It hasn't got any impulse response. And also for the mids, they are not that as defined as I would like to hear them. And of course, it could be a bit of personal preference. And on the other hand, I mean, I listen to audio, high quality audio, like days and days and days and weeks and for years. So maybe my ears are a bit more sensitive for this. But then again, if you sell a product saying all these things, you should deliver. And I don't care if it's a cheap or an expensive product. You should deliver what you say. But is it all shit? Well, actually, the HDR algorithm is good for one thing, which I detected, and that is phone calls. So making phone calls clearer, you know, when you remove sublows and you know, work a bit with the EQ curve, you know, the HDR actually boosts a lot of the voice spectrum. So it makes phone calls way easier to listen to. Now, I can also talk about, you know, the ear hook design, the Bluetooth connection, IPX waterproofing, and what is more in here. But, you know, honestly, There are already a lot of videos about the HS3 on YouTube, and they all consist of, you know, some pretty kick-ass B-roll with a voiceover reading the manual out loud. I mean, yeah, I can show you that it's waterproof by throwing a bucket of water over it, or, you know, show you the ear hook design, but you can see that in the other videos, and I'm just not interested in doing that. I think I've already added enough. So Origem actually learned me a lot, which I've actually never did think about. First of all, I shouldn't do consumer audio reviews. I mean, let's be honest. But secondly, they also showed me that I actually need a good pair of earbuds, or if you would call them like in-ear monitors, because it's just super handy. It's super small. It's handy to have with you, and you know, I can have, you know, a package like this with me 24/7, and I can always privately listen to some music that I get in my email or whatever, and you know, I get that a lot. People ask me all the time if I can listen to something. I want to listen to it in high quality. So yeah, so that's what I did. But more about that later. All right, so that is it for this video. Should I request more consumer audio products to check out? Because I think there are also some good products. I mean, the Bose noise cancelling headphones. It's pretty interesting. I heard a lot of good stories about them. Should I check them? Or should I just continue with, you know, the real deal, like the real professional audio stuff? I actually prefer the professional audio stuff, but maybe every once in a while. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know. If you enjoyed it, you can support me by pledging to my Patreon campaign. I will link it over here. There's something very cool going to happen soon, but more, you can actually read about it already on the Patreon page. So yeah, check it out over here. And if you want to see more of my videos, I will link one over here. Don't forget to subscribe, keep pushing, and I will see you guys again in the next video. Bye bye.